Arsenal dominates in our first Champions League game back, and we secure a handsome 4-0 victory over PSV Eindhoven. And in today's video, I will be discussing my player ratings for the game. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Gunner Central here. I hope you're all doing well. Without any further ado, I think we need to just get straight into it. In goal, we had David Raya. I've given David Raya an 8 out of 10. Now, he probably could have got a 9 if he had more work to do. He just didn't have enough to do to warrant anything higher than an 8. But he had an outstanding game. It's always difficult to goalkeep in those conditions when you have rain and you have some wind and it's quite chilly. Always difficult, but he handled it so well. He had some amazing distribution. He was drilling passes all over the field. He looked in complete control. I think the stat was he had 13 long passes accurate out of 17, which is a really good ratio to have. He commanded that box. He came for crosses. He never at once made a bad error or he looked shaky. He was really solid throughout. And those crosses, PSV were starting to whip him in, especially with Noah Lang. But he came in and he just collected them and made it cool as you like. He also made saves when he needed to, and when deflections happened, he just played it off cool, calm and collected. Beautiful display from David Raya. If he starts against Tottenham, I don't know about that. I think it's a whole nother video. I still have Ramsdale start against Tottenham, but David Raya really put in a good performance. Left back, Zinchenko, I've given him a 7 out of 10. Could have been higher as well. A lot of these players could have been higher, but I've gone more for the conservative route. But Zinchenko looked very good today. Solid on the ball, had some amazing passes, locked down his flank defensively. You know, last season, a lot of us Arsenal fans were questioning Zinchenko's defense, but this season, he hasn't been a standout defender like Saliba, but he's been really good. He hasn't been as questionable defensively as some of us remember him being last season, so very impressed with that. And it's just another class performance from the Ukrainian. He's had another good game. He was my man of the match against Everton, and now he's had a really solid game again. Glad to see him back, and he's really in good form. Next centre-back, I'm going to go with Saliba. 7 out of 10. Our defenders are going to be lower than a lot of the other positions purely because of what they had to do. PSV at times looked alive and were attacking, but other times they just went completely quiet and our defense didn't really have much to do other than hold the ball and pass out the ball. So I've given Saliba 7 out of 10. Saliba held it down. He had a good La Croqueta after a little mess up, if you guys remember that, towards the end of the second half. But he looked very good. He looked very calm in possession, as he always does. Another classy performance from our French centre-back. 22 years old, 22 years old. Still so young, still so much time for him to grow. Saliba is one of the best centre-backs in the world at the moment, and he's just 22. Gabriel, same as Saliba, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Same as Saliba, he did what he had to do. Good defending when needed to. Very solid performance. I think he was maybe a little bit better than Saliba if we cherry picking on who was the better defender between the two. But I mean, they're really, really solid. I love them as a partnership. They work perfectly well. Yeah, Gabriel, 7 out of 10. Right back, Ben White. One of the players I'm really starting to like the more I watch Arsenal and the more I just watch Ben White in particular. I've given Ben White a 7 out of 10. He did well considering he was marking Noah Lang all game, and Noah Lang really had some good amazing runs and looked like a threat a lot for PSV. So Ben White did what he had to do against Noah Lang. He controlled that flank quite well, made his overlapping runs as he usually does, looked comfortable for the majority of the game, had that beautiful long pass behind the defense for Havertz, who inevitably kind of messed it up, and we got a goal out of it eventually from Odegaard. But Ben White, for me, really good performance. I've given him a 7 out of 10. Into midfield, we've got Declan Rice. Declan Rice, I've given him a 7 out of 10. He probably could have an 8, but I'm going to go, again, conservative. I've given him a 7. He controlled the center of the pitch. He really nullified a lot of what PSV tried to do offensively. And, of course, as he always does, he helped the team to keep ticking. And I will tell you one thing. Declan Rice, although he doesn't have an armband, he is a leader. He is a captain 1000%. And, I don't know, I can see one day, I could definitely see him captain in this Arsenal team. He is such a good leader, such a good player, and the right mentality, and he's only 24 years old. So Declan Rice is an outstanding player, one of my favorite players in the whole Arsenal squad. But I'm going to go tonight with a 7 out of 10. Next we'll go let's just go Kai Havertz. I've given Kai a 6 out of 10. Despite what most people think, I thought mainly in the second half that he didn't look half bad. Now, he didn't look good, but he didn't look half bad neither. There's obviously still a lot of work left for Kai, but yeah, I really wanted him to get a goal or an assist, and he did have the opportunities to do so, to be fair. So yeah, overall, it was just, let's be honest, it was just a pretty meh performance from the German. I'm not expecting him to start against Spurs. I think Vieira will be starting in his place against Spurs. Next, we'll go captain Martin Odegaard. I've given him an 8 out of 10. Absolutely sulky performance from our captain. He looked so assured throughout the game. Obviously, got a really banging goal to cap off a very good performance from our skipper. He deserves an 8 out of 10 at the least. One of the best players on the field. He just looked, this is his stage. He's made for the Champions League, as are several other players in this team. Martin Odegaard looked so good. 8 out of 10 for Martin Odegaard. Speaking of being made for the stage, Trossard. I've given Trossard also an 8 out of 10. A goal and an assist for the Belgium. Looked really sharp again today, as he did against Everton. 2 goals in 2 games for him now. Really impressed with Leandro. I expect to see him start on Sunday against Spurs, especially if Martinelli isn't fit. But I think even if Martinelli is fit, I think you just have to start Trossard. He's in amazing form. 2 goals in 2 games, and he got an assist. Really looked good. He brings a whole new dynamic to that wing. Martinelli's kind of your runner, and Trossard is such a skillful, technical player. Yeah, I think Trossard should start against Spurs, and overall the performance he had against PSV was really, really good. 8 out of 10 for Trossard. And now up top, Gabriel Jesus. I've given Gabby Jesus an 8 out of 10 as well. He pressed so hard throughout the game. He looked hungry as ever. Very good build-up play, and a very, very, very good finish for that 3rd goal. He looked so sharp. I mean, even in Leandro Trossard's goal, if you watch that again, you see Gabby Jesus kind of make a darting run in the box that allows Trossard that space at the edge of the area. I think Jesus looked very sharp. I'm so glad to see him back at his best. Literally, this was one of his best performances, not of the season, but I think in the last 6 months probably. Jesus looked very good. I hope and I assume he starts against Spurs. Very good performance from Gabby Jesus. On the right, star boy Bukayo Saka making his Champions League debut, as did several other players. But like I said, made for the stage, Bukayo Saka, I've given him a 9 out of 10. He just had Dest on skates the whole game. Dest couldn't get close to him. Got a goal and an assist in his first 20 minutes of Champions League football. I think it was the perfect game from our star boy. Look, he couldn't have asked for a better performance from Bukayo, especially that first half performance. And I will say, one thing that's overlooked about Bukayo is he can track back. He defends so hard, especially when he needs to track back. He really helped a lot with Ben White on that side. And that link-up play of Odegaard, Ben White and Saka, I'm not tired of saying this. I love watching it. It is so good. Bukayo Saka, 9 out of 10. We'll quickly run into the substitutions. So we had Tomiyasu come on. I've given Tommy a 6 out of 10. To be fair, he didn't do anything wrong, but he just didn't have much to do, I think. But what he did do, he did well. I think it was he just came in, he did his job, and that's pretty much all I have to say about Tomiyasu. We'll go to Reece Nelson, who I was very happy to see. Matter of fact, let me give you Reece Nelson and Smith Rowe together. Both get a 7 out of 10. I thought him being Emil Smith Rowe and Reece Nelson looked really hungry and sharp, both on the ball and off it. I mean, there were 50-50 balls. You think about the goal that Odegaard scored. It's Smith Rowe bodying off a player, giving it to Nelson. Nelson plays into Odegaard, and Odegaard smashes it in. Those two looked really good on that left-hand side. I think that is something we can maybe develop in a couple of seasons. We could have that the same way we have our right side with Odegaard, Ben White, Saka. We can have a left side with Martinelli, Smith Rowe, Nelson, that type of thing. I think those two, Nelson and Smith Rowe, work really well together. Obviously, it's the familiarity of playing in the academy for so many years together. Yeah, I just really hope we can see more minutes from Reece Nelson, and hopefully for Smith Rowe, if he can get more minutes. It was his first appearance of the season, if you don't include the the Community Shield and the friendlies. But I thought Smith Rowe and Reece Nelson really did well, and they've done enough to kind of make you look at them. And if we need substitutions, to be looking at them and saying maybe Smith Rowe should come on, maybe Reece Nelson should come on. Yeah, those two very impressive with their performance. Jorginho, I'm going to do the same as Tomiyasu, 6 out of 10. He just also didn't have enough time on. I think he's only on for 10 minutes. But he just hoped to see the game out and keep the team ticking as he usually does, which sometimes is overlooked so hard. Those type of players are really needed in a squad, especially in a squad where you want to challenge for the Champions League or the Premier League. You need these type of players, experienced players that can just hope see the game out. Vieira, who I think was our last sub, but Fabio Vieira, I'm going to give a 7 out of 10 for Fabio Vieira. Was really good again. If he had started the game, he probably would be sitting at an 8. He had some beautiful crosses and looked like a spark on the right hand side. It's a very good cameo from Vieira, and I expect him to start against Spurs on Sunday. On to the manager, Arteta. I'm going to go a 9 out of 10 for Arteta. We controlled the game completely. And the best part about it for me is that we killed the game off early in the first half. And this allowed us to then rest our players and get our mindset onto the Spurs game. We got our first home clean sheet since our 4-0 win against Everton in March. So much needed clean sheet as well. Couldn't have asked for a better outing. Arteta did everything he had to do. We saw the game out. Beautiful performance from everyone. But with all that being said, I would love to know what ratings would you change and who was your man of the match. My man of the match, I would say, was Bukayo Saka, but I would love to know who yours was. And how happy were you to see us back in the Champions League? Just let me know all this in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.